Hello YouTube family, and welcome to episode 14 of the shed build here on SIMpull Homesteading. Now in today's episode, we're going to work to accomplish three things. We're going to work on getting the insulation up in the walls between the studs in our grow area. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and put in our electrical boxes and run our electrical lines to our plugs and our lights. This is going to be a little different than if we were doing a traditional electrical run with a 200 amp box or whatever service box. Because we're running solar, I'm going to be doing it just a little different. So hopefully you'll stay tuned to that and see how we're going to do that. And then thirdly, we're going to hopefully put up our modular storage and rack system for our tools, for our shovels and our spades and our rakes and things such as that. You're maybe going to do it a little bit different in your setting. That's okay. We're going to explain why we chose the system that we chose and how that's going to work for us. So again, let's go ahead and begin now by working on getting insulation and electrical. Here's what we're going to do first. I'm going to go ahead and place my pull box right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and put both my plug boxes over here, and I'm going to put one of my light boxes here and my other light box there. After that, I will go ahead and start drilling holes and begin running all of my Let me take a moment to explain what I'm going to be doing with the solar and how we're going to be hooking all of this up. First, I'm going to try to run my wire in a way where I use the least amount as possible. Wire's expensive. I've only got a 50-foot roll. I might end up needing more, but I don't want to have to run my wire in a way unnecessarily where I use too much of it. I am going to be running all of my hot from one point. Let me flip the camera around and talk about that. I backed up to give us some perspective. If you remember, the front of the shed that faces south is going to have the solar panels on it, and the solar panels are going to be coming through here. I'm going to be mounting my inverter, as well as mounting the controller that's going to charge the battery, and the battery is going to be sitting down here. The inverter is going to be running from here, and all of my hot is going to be coming from here. I have 3 plugs on the inverter, 110 plugs on the inverter, and what I'm going to be doing is taking my hot that will be running from this box all the way up, around, over, and I'm going to be putting a plug on the end of that. This plug is either going to come all the way around here, up to this box, and then it's going to run from here to that box, so that when I flip the light switch on, both of these lights come on. I don't need to turn just one on or the other. They're going to be LED and they're going to be low. So the hot's going to be coming from this wall over to here, and then so I don't have to drill. Well, if I drill a big enough hole, I guess I could run everything through the same amount of boards through the same holes, and it'll save some drilling. But again, I'd have to end up drilling all the way around here. I've been going back and forth, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But it's going to be the same way here then on my hot. My 2 plugs, let me get out of the light, my 2 plugs right here, I'm going to run on 2 separate lines because again, I have 3 plugs. I would rather run this off of one plug, this off another plug that's going to be going into my inverter here. So I'm going to be running wire from here all the way over up to my inverter, and that will have a 110 plug on the end of it. And this will also be the same way. That way, depending on what I plug into both of these, this will be fused, that inverter will be fused. But again, it'll just be on separate lines because I am going to have one of these running just a heater element to keep this room warm. And then the other plug will be running grow lights and heating mats. So let me go ahead and get out my drill and we'll start drilling, and we'll end up starting to run my wire to the boxes as well as back to the hot source. So you can see by the lighting that it's gotten dark now. It's about 5:40 at night. Went in, had some dinner, finished drilling the rest of the holes. I'll see if about turning the camera around and pointing and showing you what I've gotten done, and maybe what I'll do tonight. Don't know if I'll set the camera up. I've got a battery powered work light. It's getting close to the end of its life. I'll work as long as I can, and then we'll pick this video up later on, because I think what I might do is just go to doing some insulation right now instead of trying to drag my air or pull my wire through all my holes. So let me go ahead and show you what I did. I went ahead and I drilled holes all the way across the top of the door, and then I came in there. Where I had the space, I tried to keep center on the boards. However, here's what I did over here. I know it's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to try to drill in the middle of the hole, but oh well. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna take care or really mess up the integrity of this corner here too bad, because I have so many boards coming together. What I did is I drilled a hole over here on the corner. I could have tried to come a little farther over and drill this hole in as far as I could and have them meet up. That's what I've done already. So my wire will come through, come out, and then come all the way over here and then come down. I'm hoping to have my panel somewhere right about here. And that's where the hot will meet and come over here. But then my hot will come in, and then my wire that's going to carry my load to my boxes will come all the way over. I've got holes there, hole right there, and then it'll get nailed with plastic staples coming all the way over to here. I will pick it up and I'll come the rest of the way over and meet that box over there. These you can't see as well. I've got my hole here coming all the way over, and I'm gonna end up making it dark here, over to my box, another hole carrying it all the way over to my other box. I'll end up having 2 wires running once it hits that hole through both of those. I'll tell you what I did to try to speed this up, and I found out that it worked really well, was I started with my, let me take care of this light first. Hang on, I'll be right back. So I would start my hole with my spade bit, get about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch in, and then I know it's a little bit of work, but I would then switch to a Forstner bit, a 1-inch Forstner bit. That's a 1-inch spade bit right there. And what was nice is it actually made this go quicker. I was killing myself working just with this spade bit. And so just switching really quick back and forth between the spade and the Forstner made this job go a whole lot quicker. I think I'm going to move to this next. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my insulation out, and I'm going to run it into this wall. I might put the paper on this side and the exposed insulation on the far side, but then on that far side, what I'm gonna do to keep the tools from getting in that and messing around with it is I've got some thick plastic that I'm just gonna put on the other side. Again, I don't wanna continue to put up board, or even if it's a 1/4 inch luan, wood is too expensive. I've got all kinds of thick plastic laying around, and that will help kind of protect that from the tool side. And we'll go ahead and get this up, because I really don't need to mess with this so much, because no wires or anything are going to be running through here. So let me go ahead and refill my staple gun and get my mask on, get my gloves on, and we'll see about trying to maybe get some of this insulation put up. As you can tell, my electricity went out and things went black. I got as far as getting 1 strand up of insulation, but that was about it. Next couple of days were busy, and obviously now, by what I am wearing, it is a different day and it has got it incredibly colder. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue to get insulation up on this back wall. We're gonna go ahead and pull electrical today, and if we get a chance, we'll maybe talk about the storage system, or the rack system I'm going to be using for hanging all of my garden tools. So let's go ahead and let's keep working at this insulation and getting the electrical pulled. I had enough insulation left over from the ceiling to do this back wall. Now I know I have an empty space there, but that's okay, because I'm going to end up using the scraps there to fill in this gap here, and maybe do a little bit of stuffing around that area, depending how much I have. Again, no need to worry about how tight all of that is. I do have some leftover tape, insulation tape I'm probably going to put on there. maybe try to tape up here. Again, it's a shed. We want to try to get it as tight as we can, but when you come back, I'm going to show you this all done. I really don't think you need to watch me do that. And then we'll start working on pulling electrical next. Actually, I do want to talk about something very quickly, and then when you come back, this gap will be filled in. This is about 5 1/4 inches of a gap here. I'm going to cut my insulation down here at 6 inches. The reason why is I'm going to take, well, here, let me show you. You've got the edge here, the staple edge here. But if I cut down here, I won't have a staple edge if I measure exactly on the distance here. So by going 6 inches, I can then peel back that edge over here, stuff it into the gap, and it will give me an edge to staple onto the wood. So I'm going to go do that now. As you can see, everything now is complete, and I've stuffed little parts down that center there and just stuffed a couple of scraps up there. What we're going to do now is we're going to start pulling and hammering in our electrical wire. So let's go ahead and get to that. What I'm going to do first is kind of get a rough measurement. I'm going to be running my wire up here across all of my holes and then down to where my, not necessarily electrical panel, but my inverter is going to be, and where my solar is going to be coming through the front, and my hot there, and then I'll be running another wire, of course, from the switch all the way around, and then all the way to my first box and through the ceiling to my second box. I'll see how much darker it is back here. And then I'm going to go ahead and run a wire from here where my inverter is going to be, and I'm going to run one wire to here, and then I'm going to come from my inverter and run another wire all the way over there. Again, we're going to get some rough measurements because I've only got 50 foot of 14 by 2 Romex, and we'll just see how much I can get done. I'm just about ready to wrap this episode up. Not a lot of interesting things going on. I think I would like to leave my rack system that I'm going to be using to hold my tools for a different episode. I'd really like to talk about that, talk about the product, and talk about how I'm going to be laying things out. But before we go for this episode, let me tell you how far I've gotten. I almost got it done, but ended up running out of wire. And just let me explain the staples I was using before. If you've never used staples, wire staples, to hold them in place. I was using 1/2 inch masonry or wire staples, and these nails here are supposed to be able to go into masonry, plaster, mortar, things such as that. But again, supply chain issues. Where I was at and where I needed to go get these, this is all I had, or all they had, but it's not a big deal because they nail into wood just fine. These fit a 14-2, 12-2, 10-2 Romex cable. And so they've got kind of a side so it kind of pinches and holds the cable and fits over it nicely. And so what I was doing, I just knocked them all on the floor trying to do this with one hand. So they basically snap on. Let me flip this around so you can see it. they basically snap on just like that and hold the Romex really, really well. And then you just nail those right in. And I was putting these about every 8 to 10 inches when it ended up running down board. So code is usually every 12 inches, sometimes 8, sometimes 10. So I wanted to be somewhat safe and do it about every 8 to 10 inches. When it's running between studs, you don't need any nails to hold them in place. However, when you're running it down a parallel surface, you need to nail those in so the wire doesn't end up getting pulled. So again, I was putting these in about every 8 to 10 inches, and then I was putting one in within 4 inches to the box, and then pulling the wire through to give me enough to work with when I start installing my fixtures. Here's what I've been able to get done so far. I ran my line that goes to my lights all the way up through. Now this one does not have to come down to where my my hot line is. This is actually the electric going to the lights. So this ran all the way through and it came across to my box. And then the electricity, when I flip the switch, is gonna turn this light on, but the electricity is gonna continue to run this direction. And if you saw it, if I was smart enough, I would have put this box over in this stud, so I wouldn't have had to have done that. I could have drilled a hole, I could have done a number of things, but I figured by putting those on there, putting these up here, and then putting my staples over there, that's good enough, hopefully. Again, it's a shed. And then my wire out to my box. So all I have to do now is, spin it around, is I have to run my hot line all the way up, across, over, and back to the same plug, and then I'll be done. I might actually have some 14.2 laying around somewhere, but again, we're still trying to square ourselves away from moving about a year ago, and where that might be, I'm not sure, but that is basically all I need. I'll probably buy a loop of 25 feet and get that finished. As I've shown you already, I have my 2 separate lines going to that box and then to that box. Again, this is all going to be coming up to an inverter, and I'm going to be putting plugs on the end of these because these plugs are going to be plugging into the inverter. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Simple Homesteading. If it was an encouragement to you, or you learned something, or if you learned how not to do something, give it a thumbs up. If you're not yet a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. Hit the little bell button if you want to know when a new video comes out, because we publish about every 7 to 10 days. We try to stay fairly consistent, but you know, life gets in the way, right? So from myself and from Lynn, you all have a blessed day.